Recently, James chapter 2, the verse that says, "For whoever keeps the whole law but fails in one point has become guilty of all of it," has been pretty heavy on my mind. I think it has to do with the online community seeing things as black and white and avoiding any gray area. And just the whole concept that if you have fallen away, like this two-party system in the political realm. I think about Tulsi Gabbard and how she had a pretty moderate stance on abortion and how the Democratic National Party would not let her debate. They wouldn't let her run as a Democrat because of that compromise or whatever she was offering, that since she was breaking that one piece of social law, she was completely rejected from that party. And it makes me think of heaven and hell, because we do ultimately wind up in one place or the other. We're either winding up in heaven with complete perfection and holiness in the presence of God, or we're winding up in hell, which is completely devoid of God, completely separate from love, with no desire for holiness. And so I think where the gray area comes in, particularly in Catholicism, is with purgatory, right? That when we die, if we desire holiness, if we want to be seeking God, if we are willing to submit to Him, if we were on that path toward holiness, that we then would enter purgatory and through a painful process be perfected so that we could be in the presence of God, because when we die as ourselves. We do get this. There is Judaic custom and tradition that does point to some sort of in-between. You talk about Gehenna, which is more like hell, but as we know about purgatory, it's a cleansing fire. It's not a pleasant place to be. It is painful. It is perfecting. You think about gold having to be melted so that it can be purified. Fire is a cleansing thing. And so I think this gray area ends up winding up there. Whenever I think about the fruit of the Spirit, I've talked about this several different times, how it's singular. In the Bible verse, it doesn't say the fruits of the Spirit, it's the fruit of the Spirit, similar to how a strawberry plant produces a fruit. It's singular. So love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control are all of the same fruit. They are born together when the Holy Spirit is sought. And if one of them is lacking, it is known, it is proof then that the Holy Spirit is not working to fruition, that if we're failing in one point, then we are unworthy of all of it. That's why the fruit of the Holy Spirit, in my opinion, matters so much, because they are all of the same vein. They all come from the same vine. And if one is not being produced, then we're having a shortcoming of all of them, because they all come from the same place. I just think that that the black and white thinking of when you eliminate purgatory, when you eliminate this in-between space where there can still be room for further growth, further perfection, I think that once you eliminate that, you wind up with ultimatums, you wind up with perpetually falling short, and you wind up with a place that lacks hope. It lacks faith in God's mercy. It lacks a lot of different things. And I think that in our modern day world, it does a major disservice to generalize things and completely eliminate that gray area, which when we look at Christianity, like Protestantism, where purgatory, Gehenna, has been eliminated in the thought process, everything does become a little bit more black and white here on earth, where if you failed in one point, you've become guilty of it all, and therefore you no longer have admittance to heaven, is what that ultimately means, because we cannot see the face of God while we are under sin. Moses could not see the face of God because it would have killed him. Nobody could look God in the face because of our human nature, because of our fallen nature. It was no longer accessible to us. And so I just think it's so important when we talk about being wholly cleaned. That's what St. Thomas Aquinas talked about today when Peter says to Jesus, when he washes his feet, like, Lord, not only my feet, but also my hands and my head, that we are called to be fully purified. And that's something that purgatory can offer us in that cleansing fire. That's not a pleasant place to be. It's not some place that we want to go, but is very likely necessary for the majority of us that are journeying to heaven. And so that's where both our head and our bodies and everything will be ultimately purified. gold melted down. It just, that purification process is so intricate and so necessary in order to get that pure form. I don't know. I think that it makes a lot of sense to me that we do need to be wholly cleaned in the presence of God, and also to maintain that openness to, okay, I might not get it right here on earth, but Lord willing, I'll be close and I'll have the right mindset and I'll be willing to submit to his truth, so that if I am failing in one point, that he will still have that mercy on me and still draw myself to him through those cleansing fires of purgatory. And I think that that's right, like I said, ultimately where our hands and our head will be purified then as well. If we're unable to attain that here on earth from God, if we're unable to overcome the wiles of this world. So I think that that's kind of what stood out to me today. Jesus says, if I wash thee not, thou shalt not be cleansed. And if thou art not cleansed, thou shalt have no part with me. So we have to want to be fully cleansed. We have to want to have no part in sin. And the discussion surrounding corporal punishment or things of that nature, where a mild spank, you may as well be like tying your kid up on the floor, Ruby Frankie style or whatever. Like, I think that that's really extreme and very generalizing. And as I've said so many times, it's such a disservice just to those children that have been severely abused in a very real way, starved, forced to work until they have blisters, not having a bed for months on end. I mean, you're talking something that's so significantly worse, because they didn't listen to you when you said come downstairs. Like, for people just to lump everything together, I really wonder where critical thinking is going. I don't understand quite how thought processes are occurring right now, because it just doesn't make sense to me. I literally cannot understand that line of thinking where everything is so lumped together. So I think that submittal to the Lord is ultimately what it comes down to, wanting to be under his guidance. And, here on earth, obviously we have the magisterium to represent what it is that he desired to be preserved. Because as the James 2 verses 9-10 say, like, if you tell a lie, then you've become guilty, like you've fallen out of the grace of God. You have to seek his love and mercy and understanding to know that you can be reconciled. And that just requires going back to confession, asking for forgiveness, repenting from that, which means running the opposite direction of what has occurred, and just continue to seek him in all that we do. So God bless you. I hope that you have a good start to your Holy Week today. The girls and I are going to fold our palms into crosses this afternoon, and I just hope that as we continue to seek the Lord this week during Holy Week, that we draw closer to him and see him on the cross, and just continue to grow deeper and wider, and just gain a better understanding of what it means to lead a holy life. God bless you. I'll chat with you again tomorrow.